Good evening and welcome to Talk of the Neighborhoods. I'm Joe Heisler, your host, coming to you from the BNN Live studios, Eggleston Square, Jamaica Plain, where tonight on the Boston Neighborhood Network, well, like you, we're getting ready, preparing to celebrate the rites of spring and the high holidays, especially St. Patrick's Day, which is coming up this weekend. Tonight, a very special guest to help us kick off that celebration. She's a woman with a date with destiny, a date with history. State Senator Linda Dorcena Forry joins us to talk about her hosting of the annual St. Patrick's Day breakfast. All that and more tonight on Talk of the Neighborhood. Stay tuned. And tonight, we kick off our annual celebration of the St. Patty's Day weekend, the rites of spring, with the host of the annual St. Patrick's Day breakfast. Of course, every year this rite of passage, a massive undertaking that's telecast both here in New England and across the country, is watched for its wit and humor. This year, a different twist on it, I should say. A host for her first time, who is not a son of South Boston, in fact, the first woman to host the breakfast, and not even Irish-American by descent, but like me, Irish by osmosis, by marriage.
There it is.
Very pleased to have her joining me, the state senator from the 1st Suffolk District, Linda Dorcena Forry, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for coming in tonight. Well, you know, we've talked to Jack Hart over the years, and we understand, how much goes into it. But was there even more preparation involved for this than you imagined?
It's a lot of work, but I am enjoying it. I'm so happy and proud, and it's an honor to represent the 1st Suffolk District and to be able to host this breakfast that has an amazing tradition for more than 70 years. And so here I am, hosting the breakfast, a lot of work, raising money, really pulling together an incredible production. But we have incredible lineup in terms of the elected officials that are going to be speaking, and I look forward to it. 6 days away, Joe.
6 days away. Mm-hmm. And of course, as you prepare for it, this has such a tradition in terms of kind of sharp elbows and sharp tongues and lots of fun, though. And how did you prepare yourself in that sense?
Well, I'm still preparing now, so I'm not done preparing. But, it's just practicing. My husband has a great humor. Yes. Bill does, so he's been helping a lot. Also have a group of friends who are helping out. Tommy Tinlin, Kevin McCluskey, so a group of folks, Sean Pierce. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm obviously learning a lot of songs, a lot of music, a lot of singing. So I'm hoping people will sing along, right? Because that's what makes it fun. It's really being able to enjoy each other's company, celebrating Irish culture. And so that's a big part of it, no doubt. It's the St. Patrick's Day breakfast. So we're going to be celebrating Irish culture, which we do in our house, right, in our home.
Well, you married into it, of course, your husband Bill and your father-in-law. They're the publisher and editor of the Boston Irish Reporter.
That's right.
So you get your history there firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and our 4 kids are half Irish and half black, so we celebrate Irish culture in the house. And I just look forward to it, really just putting on a great show, hoping people enjoy themselves. It is political humor as well. So I'm sure there'll be some needling, some zinging, right? But in a nice way, right?
Who are some of the guests? Without giving away any surprises, this, of course, is a gubernatorial election year, so I'm guessing there's actually scrambling for seats at the table.
I know, there's just so many candidates running, right? But let's start with our sitting governor. So Governor Patrick is coming, which I'm really excited about that. He's a good friend. Senate President Therese Murray, Speaker DeLeo. We have other people who are going to be, obviously, the sitting elected officials who are running for governor, Steve Grossman, Martha Coakley, but Juliette Kayyem will be there, Dr. Avalon, Berwick will also be there. So we have a whole host of folks. And obviously there's Congressman Stephen Lynch, who's a good friend, and he has been such an amazing help. Himself, Jack Hart, also Nick Collins. So they've been really supportive. And of course, the master of it all, President Bill Bulger, and Mary, his wife. No, I'm not saying he'll be there. I'm saying that has been very helpful in terms of being able to speak about and helping me in terms of the...
What kind of advice have they given you?
You know, they're basically like, Linda, you will do well. You know, just be yourself, enjoy it. And learning the songs, right? Because singing is important. Just learn to sing.
Those songs.
They're like, learn to sing, Linda. Learn to sing those songs. I could carry a tune. I'm okay.
Well, there was some question, of course, when you ran for the seat. As I mentioned, you're the first person who's not from South Boston to host it. Traditionally, the sitting senator from the 1st Suffolk, and by rights, you won that seat fair and square in a special election. But then there was some question. Of course, Bill Linehan, the city councilor from over there, was suggesting that maybe he was going to continue. Of course, he did it for 1 year.
When Jack left,
how did you settle that dispute? You pretty much, as far as I could tell, put your foot down. Yeah,
we settled it pretty well. I think it was great to have Congressman Lynch, to have President Bulger come forward and say, well, wait a minute, the breakfast has always been hosted by the state senator of the 1st Suffolk District. So automatically you have leaders like that who have been at the forefront, who are from South Boston, born and raised, to be able to say, no, Linda's going to be great. She should host the breakfast. But I knew I was going to host the breakfast because it's always been hosted by a state senator. But, you know, Bill Linehan and I, we talked about it, and he got it. And so I'm hosting.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, now that is being broadcast, or cablecast, I should say, on New England Cable News.
That's
right. Starting at
10 a.m.
At 10 a.m.
Till 12:30. So for 2.5 hours, we will be there at
glued.
The BCEC.
We'll all be glued watching it. Again, State Senator Linda Dorcena Forry, now the host of the annual St. Patrick's Day breakfast, here tonight on Talk to the Neighborhoods to give us a preview of this annual shindig, and it's always a lot of fun. Now, of course, this past week or week and a half, all the oxygen's been sucked up by the whole discussion over whether the parade, whether gays will be, gays, lesbians, transgender will be allowed to march. Has that been helpful? Has that taken some of the pressure off you a little bit?
No, I mean, it's still connected, right? But what's great is that the parade is separate from the breakfast. So the breakfast is something that I put on, the state senator puts on. So we created a nonprofit, the 1st Suffolk Partnership, to raise the funds to put on the breakfast. And the parade is separate. I mean, I've always gone to the breakfast every year. I've never walked in the parade because of that, right? Because of the exclusion piece. But I'm hopeful. I mean, we're 6 days out. I know Mayor Walsh has been working on this, and so we'll see what happens.
You got your sneakers ready in case you're called into action?
I have my kitty heels ready, ready to walk. You know. But so far, you know, I will not be walking. We'll be putting on a breakfast. Hope people tune in to enjoy themselves, sing along, and that we'll see what happens.
But has that been a distraction? And I know you're not involved in that. That's the South Boston Allied War Veterans that put the parade on, completely separate thing. And has that has that added or kind of detracted from what you're trying to do?
I mean, we're plugging away, right? So we're just moving ahead.
It's a massive undertaking.
It's a massive, massive undertaking. But I think, again, it's 2014. It is unfortunate. I think that, you know, South Boston is an inclusive community and an amazing, amazing neighborhood. I mean, I'm born and raised in Dorchester, so didn't really spend much time in South Boston. But, you know, the Forrys, you know, Bill's great-grandparents were from South Boston. We still have one Forry that lives on Broadway Street, so they'll have my campaign sign. I'm hoping other folks will put my campaign sign on this year. But, you know, so we have family there. We do have roots there. I baptized my 2 boys in South Boston, St. Augustine's Chapel, with Father Tom McDonald. But I think that, you know, it's 2014, and, you know, South Boston has changed a lot. And, you know, there is a thriving gay community in South Boston. There's diversity in South Boston, both economically and ethnically and culturally. So I think, you know, it is time. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen this year. But again, we're 6 days out. You never know. Anything can happen.
Well, and how have you been received since you become a state senator? I've
been received so well. I'm telling you, it is really an incredible neighborhood. The impacts in South Boston, issues that are happening in Southie, from economic development issues in terms of jobs, but also housing concerns, right? In terms of
Big
cost
issue
of
there.
housing is a
Yes.
big issue, and families being pushed out because if they were renting and the house is sold, then where are they going to live? Because the cost is so high. I mean, that's issues we're dealing with in Mattapan, in Dorchester, in Hyde Park, and for us, one of the things I did was to bring together a civics dinner. A civic leaders dinner, so the presidents of the civic associations from South Boston, Mattapan, Dorchester, and Hyde Park, and really just for us to have an informal conversation. And that was, I thought it went really well, and folks were like, wow, this was a great idea, because folks in Southie were able to talk about their issues, folks in Dorchester were able to say, wait a minute, that's our issues. Mattapan, which seems further away from South Boston, was like, oh wow, yeah, we're dealing with that issue too. So it's really bringing these leaders together to figure out best practices, the challenges that we're facing, and how is it we can make it better. But I gotta say, South Boston has been so welcoming, incredible community, people who may not have been with me, and that's okay, because I don't hold grudges, it's like I understand
They might be waiting to
relationships.
see how well you sing.
I know, how well I sing, does she know the words? So don't mess up, no, but it's been really great, and I think that, folks who may not have been with me, it's okay, and I tell people that. I understand relationships. I know you couldn't be with me, but I'm now your senator, and we need to work together, and I have to say it's been
people
wonderful.
get that?
And people get that. I mean, I've been going to community meetings all over my district, not just South Boston, but South Boston focused because I've not really represented that area, and did not grow up there. So, but it's been positive, and people are stopping me all the time saying, okay, you're going to do great, Senator. Can't wait to see you. I hope you could say
Of course, it is
no.
an election year as well. So
It is,
any
actually.
election year for you, all state officials coming on the heels so quickly after the special election, it must seem like it's just like one continuous
It's
blur.
one continuous race, right? The whole 2 years, I would say, special
Yes,
elections
really.
after the
That's
other.
right.
So, yeah, but this year I run again in the fall, and so signatures will be due right after the parade. So, right after the breakfast, no, in April.
Well, now, I understand that you've been taking, you probably knew some steps before, but Irish step dancing lessons. I mean, you're really, going the whole 9 yards here. And
Okay, I'll just say I was in the Woods, Woods School of Irish Step Dance in South Boston.
Yeah, where Jack Hart's daughters went, right?
Well, they were, yeah. So I was in there, I'll just say that. No, but it's going to be interesting. So
One thing to learn songs, it's another thing to learn.
I'm telling you, it's another thing. Let me tell you, I went to MRM, Monsignor Ryan Memorial High School, so I remember my girlfriends. They would take, because it was quite interesting. From Dorchester and South Boston, they were my classmates, and they would take Irish step dance. And every once in a while, someone would come in with a broken ankle, because it's a lot of work, in terms of jumping and so forth. But it's quite an amazing skill. But I'll just say that I have been in the dance studio, and you all just have to show up to see what happens.
Well, we're looking forward to it, like all of you, as we look forward to springtime, if it ever gets here, and of course the annual St. Patrick's Day breakfast, the St. Patrick's Day parade for those that are going. Tonight we're celebrating all of that here on Talking to the Neighborhoods with the host of the annual St. Patrick's Day breakfast, Senator Linda Dorcena Forry, a Dorchesterite through and through. And now, can you give us any hints of jokes or routines or something that we should look for at least amongst your guests?
Okay. Now, Joe, I don't want you to ruin. We don't want to ruin it.
No, we don't want to ruin it.
We don't want to ruin it. But I'll say that we have Congressman Lynch, former Senator Jack Hart, Nick Collins. There's some cameo appearances, I'll say.
Well, that
so we have like a skit. Just think of me getting my Southie on. So Senator Forry getting her Southie on, yeah.
That sounds interesting. Of course, Governor Patrick, this is his last year in office, so will there be a fond farewell, a special acknowledgement of him? And
very good. So you're giving me ideas now. Good job, Joe. 6 days out. Okay, we got to write that one down.
Right.
But we're, obviously the governor is always funny, so he's going to be doing about 5 minutes or so, 4 minutes or so. Yes. But I don't know what he's working on yet, and I'm not quite sure what the other electeds are, so we need to double back with them just to see what is it they're going to be presenting.
Well, so I know some of these officials actually go so far as to hire professional joke writers. You know, have you felt compelled to hire professional joke writers to?
No,
you're funny.
Have anyway, not felt compelled. I have to tell you, growing up, my sister Colleen and my best friend Tiffany Warren, you know, we grew up like down the street from each other. We in Dorchester, she in Roxbury, but literally the line. And you know, we would go out to the movies or go shopping or go to the library, whatever, and we would come up with these skits, these comedic skits in our head, and we would crack ourselves up, like, you know, just laugh. So for me, I'm just kind of a ham, and people don't know that, but I am. So I love laughing. Did not hire comedic writers, but have a lot of talent around us, right? Friends who are very talented. Bill's one, my husband, but Tommy Tinlin is so funny. Really, he is hilarious. Kevin McCluskey, you know, so there's a couple of, John Tobin, who's a friend, you know, and John, so many people, yeah. But so much laughter.
Well, anyway you take it, it's a daunting task.
It is a daunting task, no doubt.
And you mentioned before, it's not just you know, presenting and on-air talent, so to speak, but you know, it's all the work that goes on behind the scenes, the fundraising and so on and so forth, because you know, there's a lot that goes into it. This year again, it's at the South Boston Convention Center.
Yep, it's at the BCEC.
Right.
And doors, registrations at 8. Registrations at 8. Doors open at 8:30.
Yeah.
And we expect people to be seated by 9:30 because it goes live at 10. And so we'll probably do a pre-show event about 9:45 or so, just for 15 minutes, get people warmed up.
And of course, this is, how many people does that, well, the place is enormous, but I know it's been kind of cut down to size, so it's a manageable size.
It is cut down to size. So originally, remember, when, not the original one, right, because it was back in the 1920s, 1930s, but when President Bulger did it, it was in a small space. Oh, yeah. So people really like that intimacy. So the BCEC is a big hall, but we are trying to keep it somewhat small to make it still feel like, wow, this is a nice crowd, cozy place. So Jack Hart had it set up a particular way, so we're going to keep that set up. So really, it's about 450 people seated, about 200 people standing. So there's not seats for everybody, but I still hope you come. Folks are RSVPing,
I'm sure
but it's going well. I mean, people are RSVPing. And then also we have an outside, right outside the room, there's going to be another overflow room, which is going to be televisions as well, and also the bar.
Well, of course, you never know at that time in the morning.
I know, not good. I mean, orange juice, you know, soda.
What you need to brace
orange
yourself
juice,
for,
for
the day. Again, Linda Dorcena Forry, she is now Senator Dorcena Forry and the host of the annual St. Patrick's Day breakfast. Really looking forward to this. As you prepared for this, and you know, I remember when you first ran for your House seat, and then you ran for this. Did you ever see yourself doing something like this? Because like everyone in Boston, I'm sure you watched this, and of course you've been to several breakfasts, but until you decided to run for senator, did you ever see yourself?
No, never really seen myself hosting the breakfast, right? It's when obviously I ran, because I was a state rep for 8 years, 8.5 years, so it made sense for me to just run for Senate. And so winning it and doing it now and preparing it for it. But preparing for it, I have to say that, you know, it kind of goes back to growing up, right, with my sister and my good friend, where we would have these comedic moments where it was just incredible skits in our head. Yeah, so it's kind of like, wow, it's coming full circle. So I text my sister Colleen and Tiffany just last night and said, wow, you guys, this is like our skits. Like, I get to make people laugh, you know, so I'm enjoying it. I am. I just hope people enjoy it as well as we celebrate culture, celebrate political humor. And so. Any
Irish dignitaries coming across the water?
Wow.
Or anything
well, we may have someone, very special guest.
Well, that's part of the surprise.
Yeah, it is.
No doubt about it.
That's a big one. We did a good trade.
Oh, yeah. See, who could we send over there? And finally, of course, you know, as you look at this, and you are the first person of color, the first African-American, the first Dorchester resident. You're making some history here. Are you aware of how big this is?
No, I am aware of it, right? Because I'm born and raised in Boston, born and raised in Dorchester. And so grew up here, right, all my life. And my parents came here from Haiti. And so, you know, my dad, you know, just to be hosting the breakfast in South Boston, that's a big deal. And I think that it's important because, you know, Boston has changed. And it's been changed for a long time. And I think folks outside of Boston, and I've been saying this, you know, still view us as the Boston of the 70s.
That's
as
kind
the
of provincial.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, that we're still kind of stuck, but we're not. And so we're moving forward. And we want people to know that. We want folks to come and visit us. We want, you know, communities of color. We want organizations to come here and have their conventions. Like we got the Urban League to come a couple years ago, you know, to really just come and see Boston because it's an incredible place. But, you know, the history is important and I don't take it lightly because, you know, growing up, my dad drove through South Boston and a rock went through his window, you know, and never went back. And so, but, you know, now it's 2014. And so it's been changed a while now. And so we want people to know that. And so I think this is going to bring a new face that, you know, we're in this together. And I gotta say, the folks will say new Boston, old Boston. It's not about that. It's not about old versus new. It's just that change is happening and it's a good thing. And, you know, people are supporting me from new and old Boston, right? Folks are with us and saying, you know, you're gonna do a great job and we're happy you're my senator.
Well, and we're happy you're the host of the annual St. Patrick's Day breakfast. Again, our congratulations to you for
so much.
Winning the seat. And now, here's the payoff. Well, I don't know what it is. It's the grand entrance, so to speak, and you know, it's a wonderful moment, and you know, like many people, we're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Joe.
Again, State Senator Linda Dorcena Forry from the 1st Suffolk District, the host of the annual St. Patrick's Day breakfast. Don't miss it this Sunday. That's March 16th at 10 a.m. on New England Cable News. Great fun for all. Thanks so much for coming and joining us, as always. Loved having you. You're watching Talk to the Neighborhoods here on the Boston Neighborhood Network, and we're here tonight and every Monday night at the same time for the entire staff and crew here at BNN. Thank you for watching.